Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Spiritual Connection Show. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn. So I'm the spiritual head of the Transformation Center CT, which is located in Westport, Connecticut. At the center, we do a variety of things. We have workshops, trainings, different events. We have sound baths in the backyard with, I partner with other practitioners for a lot of things. I also do individual sessions. So I'm a transformation coach, an energy healer, shamanic practitioner. So we do all of those things to benefit you and help you on your journey. So welcome to the center anytime. I'm going to put up a slide that shows our contact info. So you can check that out. Let's see, there it is. Yeah, so that's our URL, transformationcenterct.com. You can email us, call us, whatever works for you. And we do have regular monthly events that you can check out on the events calendar. We have satsang once a month, which is Sanskrit for in the company of truth. And that's an opportunity to just be with other people, like-minded individuals, lift your vibration. It's really a nice evening. It's on Zoom now. So that's really easy to join. And there's no set fee. It's just by donation. And we also have a shamanic clinic every month, which is the second Tuesday of each month. So check out all those events and join us whenever you can. All right. So those of you who have seen the Spiritual Connection show before, you know that I'm all about connection. That's one of my core values. I just love, meeting new people, finding out what they do, sharing their journey with you so you can connect. Because we're all in this together. I mean, that's my philosophy is we're all one. We're all here to serve each other. So welcome to the show. And I'm really excited. Today, my guest is Donna Martire Miller. Welcome to the show, Donna.
Thank you. It's a joy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy. I just recently met Donna, and I'm going to read a little bit about her before we get started. And I'll put up her slides so you'll know how to reach her if you desire. Yeah, so here we go. So Donna Martire Miller holds a master's degree in counseling and organizational human resource development. And she is a graduate of the Positive Psychology program, which is the science of happiness at Kripalu Whole Being Institute. Okay, she's also an adjunct professor at the University of Bridgeport here in Connecticut, where she teaches health, wellness, and happiness. I love that. What could be better, for college students to learn about? So Donna also developed and held the executive director position for 30 years at an organization called Help for Kids. And this is a positive parenting family strengthening center in Southern Connecticut. That sounds amazing too. And in addition, Donna is also the founder and owner of Happily Ever Actions. And you can see the contact info there. That's their website, happilyeveractions.com, which that's so cool. You can reach her at that email or phone number. And this is a business that helps people to live their best life now using the tenets of positive psychology. Yeah, so she has a lot to offer in that realm. And Donna is also the author of several books about happiness and spirituality. So we're going to learn all about those books and everything else she does. So again, welcome to the show. You certainly do a lot, and I can relate. I just love everything that you have to offer. It's really exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, it's been a lot of years. It's been a long journey.
Well, yes. And you've been on it even longer than I have, my journey. So, the first question I always like to ask my guest is, just tell us a little bit about that journey, how you got started, anything you want to share about it for our guest tonight.
Okay. Well, I think the first thing was really deciding what life was going to be like for women in our culture and society. And all along, there was just a whisper of a thought inside of me that kept pulling me in these directions that didn't necessarily fit in with maybe what my parents had in mind for me, or what, society said I should be doing. So I think the first step in my spiritual transformation was recognizing the need for introspection. I needed to take a look at what really made me happy, and gave me energy, what lit me up, versus all the shoulds that I was trying to accomplish in my life. And I spent a lot of time doing that, and those whispers just kept pulling me. So the very first part of the transformation was introspection, getting to know myself, getting my head out of the sand.
Yeah, well, that's
And
great.
really,
That's a perfect first step. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, getting to know myself. And from there, your values start to evolve, and you update your map of who you are and where you're going. Because initially it's all how you were raised, or, what culture you're in, what your traditions are, what church you go to, or not, whatever it was that you were raised in. Usually it's about that. Uh, and then you have to update it. You reach a point in your maturity, I guess, where you know that you have the reins. So you need to update that map. You need to say, well, okay, and there's a doorbell. I have no idea what that is. But you need to update that map to say, this is who I am right now. And so I can lovingly kiss some of the lessons goodbye that served me up until now, but they no longer serve me. So I need to explore more in depth about my spirituality.
Yeah.
So that, and then I guess the last thing, what got me here was discovering real meaning and purpose in my everyday life. Getting up and knowing that I could choose in every moment to bring my whole self to that moment. And in that way, I was living out my purpose. I felt, or I feel still living out my purpose in this life.
Wow.
That's the Reader's Digest version of
Well,
that transformation.
yeah, no, I really get it. You became more of who you really are. And I
Mhm.
feel that from your energy. It's beautiful, and the way you described it. And I can see how you would be drawn to this science of happiness and positive psychology, because that feels like that's your true nature. But tell us a
Yeah.
bit about how that did happen. How did you get interested in that topic?
Well, that's an interesting story. Actually, I was at the University of Bridgeport, and I was teaching counseling at the time. And, I was sitting at a table, there was a speaker speaking, and you know how your mind can drift from the speaker. And I was sort of side listening to someone at the table that I didn't know. It was a table of 10 of us. And she was talking about Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar and how he had brought the science of happiness to academia at Harvard, and that he was teaching at Kripalu. And I thought, I have to go. What is that? What is the science of happiness? I need to figure that out. So I went to my board of directors at the center and I said, look, this is a family strengthening agency. If you help me take this course of study, it was a year long, if you help me to do that, then I promise to bring everything that I learn about the science of happiness to the families we serve and to my social workers, because I was the executive director. And they said, okay. So
Wow.
off I went.
Yeah. So that's probably no accident. You were sitting next to this person. It was like the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and that's all my ears heard. Sadly, I didn't hear the speaker or what she was talking about in that moment. But yes, I went and I studied, and then I was so in love with everything I learned from Tal Ben-Shahar, Megan McDonough, and Maria Sorrell were the main professors for Whole Being Institute. And I needed more, so I became their teacher's assistant and got to spend another year, working with them at Kripalu and with other students. And that sort of solidified that this is what I wanted people to know. You know, we teach who we are. When you're in this field and you want to be a speaker or a teacher or share knowledge, you teach who you are because you've experienced it. You know it to be real and to be true, right? So that's what I began to do. That's what I began to do. And Tal, to this day, is still my mentor, which is wonderful 12 years later. And in fact, all of them are in my most recent book, Finding Unshakable Happiness. They've all written in it, Tal, Megan, Maria. So yeah, and 25 other happiness professionals all collaborated with me on that one.
That's
so
awesome.
It's just a wonderful read. Wonderful read.
Well, we're going to talk about your book in a minute, but so it's like you found your tribe in this world of the science of happiness.
Yeah, and it's a revolution because the unique thing about this tribe, Katie, is that everybody wants to share the knowledge. So you don't have a sense of, it's like with you, the sense of connection is way more important than climbing some ladder. The sense of connection is what it's really all about. We all get there together, and we get there by helping each other and sharing our individuality, what we're all good at, sharing our differences, our diversity, and that's what makes us strong. So it's kind of a happiness revolution.
I love that, a happiness revolution. So if there was just one or two things that you could use to describe like how you would tell somebody what it is that you teach. I know that's probably impossible to sum it.
One or two.
But just like what, if you wanted to convince somebody that they should listen to what you have to say, what would you tell them?
Well, the first thing I would tell them is they're not alone. We all go through that journey where we just don't know who we are, what we want to do. Nothing seems to be working. The shoes just don't fit right. They're a little too tight. Something's going on, you know? And that's when we look to develop our ideal self. That's what we call it in positive psychology. So it's who we imagine we would be at our absolute best if the sky was the limit. And it's a procedure, and there's work to be done to get you there. But once you really peel off the stuff that's not working for you anymore, and you focus on what's always been there, just waiting to emerge, just waiting for you to build upon, you know, that's when you develop your core, your center. And then no matter what happens in life, because train wrecks are going to happen again and again and again. Look at what we've all faced globally with the pandemic and so many things right now that I really don't want to get into. I'd rather talk about positive. But the world is shaking right now, and people find their resilience when they have a strong core to hold on to, because then no matter what hits you, you know how to get back to center because you know what's important to you and what matters. Okay. But that's a self-discovery thing, you know?
Yeah. So you get to know yourself, you get that core sense of self and I self with a capital S. Yes.
And then we look at what's strong with you instead of what's wrong with you. I mean, I don't know how many times you get up and if you make a mistake or what's wrong with me? I forgot my keys on. What's wrong with me? We say it a lot, but what's strong in you and what's right in you? We could feel regret for something we did. Maybe for me, it's parenting. Okay, so if I raised 5 beautiful children. And if I made a mistake here or there with them, what I felt was a mistake, it haunts me even to today. Wish I said something or did something a little different. But in positive psychology, let's look at the millions of things we did right and learn from the one thing we did wrong, but let's celebrate the wonderful things we did right. And
Yes.
as human beings, that we have such a negative bias that we're born with, we don't go there unless we practice it enough that it becomes a habit, and we can refer to it or turn to it anytime we need to.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It is, I think it is somewhat in human nature to, well, first be really hard on ourselves and look for those flaws. Whereas, like you're saying, if you're trained to look for the good and look for the positive, then you have another way of being. And it works so much better that you want to keep doing it, right?
Well, yes, it's a growth mindset is what it is. We're fixed. We have these fixed mindsets, and they look at our faults. They look at what we could do better. I mean, go back to grammar school. If the teacher called home, what was the teacher calling home about?
Something you did wrong, most likely, right?
You were in trouble,
In
right?
trouble. Yes.
Yes. Imagine if the teacher called home to tell you that your child was excelling in art and they wanted to get a tutor to make this student masterful. Imagine, right? The difference in broadening and building what your foundation is, what lights you up, what you're called to do, versus someone telling you that's not the career for you. You need to do this. You're bad at that, so I'm getting you a tutor. The mindset is so different. However, it brings so much positive emotion to you when you learn these skills, and when you're able to navigate life in this way. It brings so much positive emotion to you that actually improves your immune system, your ability to rest, sleep more, your ability to cope, and your ability to form stronger connections and to love deeper. What could be better?
Wow.
Actually, if someone is happier and connected to that sense of meaning, which is spirituality, right? If that is happening, they say people live approximately 9 years longer lifespans. If you quit smoking, you might live 7 years longer. I mean, happiness has you living 9 years longer. So, but it's subjective, and people don't know how to access it, how to choose. 50% of your ability to be happy is genetic. Okay. The good news in that is, even if you have 10 or 20% of ability to feel happy from your genes, then 10% is based on your environment. So we can't help it if a pandemic hits and we're closed in with COVID. So that might take away 10% of our well-being. However, if we keep a certain area filled with things we like to look at in our environment, that could put it up 10%. I always used to tell my students, just clean your car. You spend a lot of time in your car. Just clean your car. You're going to be happier. You're going to feel good about where your environment is. But a whopping 40% of our ability to be happy, spiritually connected to our life, engage in our life in the best possible way, is moment-to-moment choices we make. That's powerful.
I believe that.
Because in every moment, we're usually acting or reacting out of fear, shame, habit, what we've experienced with other people, what we believe to be true. But if we can change our mindset through this work, you do change your mindset from fault finding to benefit finding and growth mindset, then the sky's the limit, and we are all capable of so much more than we realize.
Yeah, that's I think that's the key message right there, is that we're all capable of, yes, the sky's the limit, and ultimately we do have the choice about how we
But
feel.
we don't know that. Yeah.
No,
We don't
no.
realize we have a choice because we have these knee-jerk reactions to things. But I think it was Viktor Frankl who said, in life, there is the event that will happen and then how you're going to react to it. And in between that, there's time. We just don't take it. But if we were to take that time, take a few deep breaths before we think or respond, then we respond from a more authentic place. And the outcome and the consequence for that is probably filled with more resiliency or positive emotion, no matter what the situation. You know, positive psychology is not, and the science of happiness and spirituality is not ignoring all the human emotions. It's naming them. It's naming them. We know we're going to be sad sometimes, mad, angry, bitter, jealous, all of the lower vibrating emotions. We know we're going to feel them. But knowing that we're still going to be okay, we can name it, we can go through it, we can look to what we know or have evidence of that's strong in us to help us navigate through those things, makes a world of difference than just feeling like life has taken you over,
Right.
instead of you really having some control over how the outcome is going to be.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's about not letting those things define who we are.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, in my book, The View from Within, Spiritual Pathways to Happiness, I started by saying a spiritual renaissance is emerging, and it is because of what we've all lived through now. People are paying greater attention to what brings about more happiness and what helps us to be more forgiving and kind. Forgiveness was always a really difficult area for people. But I think getting through COVID, realizing that life is short and sensitive, had people wanting to know how to forgive themselves and how to forgive those that they loved, because you realize you don't have forever to show them you love them, right? You may not. So it's very interesting. And our spiritual beliefs and practices, although are varied, because in this book, we go through all the wisdom traditions in the world. And my partner, Joseph Bologna, who's a photographer, did the photography work of all the sacred ground around the world. And I studied the traditions. And so each chapter or page talks about the wisdom traditions that bring you closer to love and that help you from being cut off from love, to appreciate the blessing in diversity, the blessing. I mean, the God of my knowing showed up in every one of these wisdom traditions. So it's really not about religiosity. It's about being human. And in our humanity, we're here to love each other. We're here to love the world. We're here to appreciate Mother Nature, appreciate our animals. I think this revolution that we're heading into, this cleansing that the world kind of went through with COVID, has lifted us up a notch in spirituality.
I think so. I think it's opened a lot of things up. You know, it's opened a lot of people's eyes and hearts. Yeah. Well, show us the book. Do you have it there with you?
Yes. I mean, spirituality has become universal in our desire to live in a beneficent, hopeful world. And that's what this book is about.
Oh, look at that. The View from Within, Spiritual Pathways to Happiness. Awesome. Yes. So you wrote that during the lockdown, the pandemic?
Yes. Joe and I locked in together for a couple of years there. Really creatively took his photography and my desire to share everything I know with the world, about love and spirituality and the science of happiness, came together. And so 5 books came out of that, and they're all on Amazon and, you know, wherever you go to buy book, Barnes and Nobles and things like that. But
Right.
But the third one in this trilogy, the trilogy starts with spirituality, because without a foundation of some kind of meaning and purpose in your life, finding happiness is going to be difficult. The second one is Finding Unshakable Happiness.
I love that title, because like you were describing earlier, once you have that, once you know who you are, you can be unshakable. I love that.
Yeah, you can't. It brings you, you're going to feel all the emotions, but you'll know how to recover from them. That's the biggest part, right?
Yes.
And the third one, we're opening up for collaboration in June. I already have several authors that want to write with me, and it's all about love and connection. So
wonderful.
That's where we are.
Keep us posted on that. I would love to find out more about that. That sounds like, you know, perfect timing for something like that to come out. You know, because people are still searching. You know, I think it's opened a lot of things up in the last couple of years. And so the more people like you and I that are out there that people can learn from, and, you know, to help themselves, really. That's what it's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it's reminding us we're inundated with things that make us fearful. If you watch the news, if you watch TV, even for entertainment, 90% of it is lowering the vibration, the human vibration of people, because it's either death, destruction, murder, cheating, thieving, cheating on people, adultery. I mean, you name it, it's out there and called entertainment. And when you watch that and your brain processes that, you're getting those chemicals, you're getting the cortisol, you're getting the stress hormones. Rather than if you were to listen to your favorite music and dance around the room a little, get some movement in you, or if you were to spend some time with someone you care about, even a phone call that turns up the corners of your mouth just a bit, makes you smile, you're bringing more positive emotion into your life, into your day. And when you do that, that's when you reduce heart risk, you lower blood pressure, your immune system gets stronger. And Ellen Langer has even done research that proves that this is the fountain of youth, because you actually stay younger longer. Your body's more vibrant. And they do physical tests to prove that in the research. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it is.
You just don't know about it.
I know. I love that, because, you know, I'm getting up in the years now, but I feel as young as I ever did. And I think it's about the spiritual connection for me, you know, the aspect, but also the positive, you know, and I haven't studied the science like you have, but to me, it's just common sense in a way that if you think, you know, positively and look for the good, and I do look for the good in everybody, and I see it. It's always there. You just have to look for it. It's just a way. It's like a way of being. You know, it's about like exhibiting love and just personifying that feeling of love too.
Yes. Do you know of Joan Chittister? Have you read her books, any of her books?
No.
Beautiful spiritual books. Okay. But she says this about St. Anthony.
Okay, well, we're going to have to wrap up in like about 15 seconds, so I'm not sure.
Okay, so I'll read it quickly. She said, Father, how can you be enthusiastic when the comfort of books have been taken away from you? This was said to St. Anthony. And St. Anthony replied, my book, O philosopher, is the nature of created things. And whenever I want to read the word of God, it's always right in front of me. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Donna. It was really a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you. It's been wonderful being here. Thank you. Bye. Same here. Okay. Bye-bye.